Yo, what is up guys, it's Pedro here, and in today's video, I will be giving you guys a quick injury update on wide receiver Curtis Samuel. I'll show you a clip of him doing some exercises. I'll also show you guys a clip of Ron Rivera talking about his injury status a couple weeks ago, and then also I'll talk about Curtis Samuel's expectations going into the 2022 NFL season and what he can add to this offense if he's healthy. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content, trying to get to 7,500 subscribers. So please help me get there. Also hit that like button and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video, and follow my Twitter, first link in the description. Now let's get right into the video. So last offseason, the Washington Commanders signed wide receiver Curtis Samuel to a 3-year deal worth about $31.5 million. And last offseason, a lot of fans, myself included, were really excited about the move and thought it was a very good move. I mean, he played for the Panthers, was familiar with Ron Rivera and Scott Turner, of course, but he was a really solid football player, very versatile, and we thought he would really be able to open up the offense for Scott Turner, for Terry McLaurin. And it was really unfortunate because, he tweaked his hamstring in June, or late May, early June, and really never was fully healthy. There was times where he went on the field, but he was never really healthy. The one game he kind of played, I believe he played like 20 snaps in the Falcons game. He was limited, but he had like 4 catches for like 20 yards, and I know that doesn't seem like much, but it was limited snaps, and he got like 3 or 4 first downs, and Terry had his best game of the season that game, and we saw a glimpse of what Curtis Samuel could bring to that offense. But he kept, Washington kind of mismanaged the injury situation, and partly, that's on Ron, I guess, but a lot of it is they didn't have an athletic trainer. So the whole situation was just a mess all year, and still there are questions about him going into this next year about his injury status on that same groin injury that he injured in late May, early June of last year. So it's almost been a year, since that injury, and he's still dealing with it. Groin injuries sometimes do linger, but it's usually like a 1 to 2 month injury, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. But this was just definitely mismanaged. But we got some kind of good news in the last couple of weeks. So, this isn't really a big deal at all, but Curtis Samuel did post a picture on Instagram, or a story of him on a football field with his cleats on, so at least he's working. We don't know everything that he's doing, but it is good news that he is on the football field. But at this point, I would hope that he is fully healthy, and if we're into the OTA session and he has any really limitations on him besides maybe the first couple days because he hasn't played football in like a year and a half, okay, that is understandable. But if it's like the last few days of OTAs and he still has like limitations on him, to me that is extremely concerning. If that happens, yeah, it's going to be very, very concerning. But it is encouraging, at least right now, that he is working out. And here's a video of him. Let's see if I got it. This is from Pete Haley, by the way. Shout out to him for finding this on Instagram. And again, baby steps, but he is doing some sprinting with some resistance. So I will play it right here a couple times for you guys. Right here, you see him right there, about to take that sprint, and showing that acceleration with the resistance. So that is kind of, with that soft tissue injury, that right there is encouraging that he is doing some sprints, because he wasn't really doing that. Even when at some points in the season, we would see him, run at 70% in practices. We would see some videos of that, but never really 100%. And this looks pretty close to 100%. And you might say, oh, it looks slower. Well, it looks slower because he has the resistant bands on him. So that's why he looks a little bit slower, but it looks like he is going all out at pretty much a 100% sprint right there. So that is good news right there. And it's kind of sad that this is what is considered good news for Curtis Samuel, just sprinting, but baby steps, and hopefully this is a step for him to get back on the field. And I'm wondering how close he is to being 100%, if not already there, because he said at the end of the season, and this was in January, that he was, feeling the best he's felt in a long time. He didn't play the last few weeks of the season, but still, if you felt good at the end of the season, I would hope at this point he would be at 100%. But with this injury, you never know, because, a groin injury should not take more than like 2 or 3 months, and it's been 10 months. So right here, I will be playing you guys a quick 23-second clip of Ron Rivera at the Combine, kind of talking about Curtis Samuel's injury and how they feel about it at this point. So I'll go ahead and play it for you guys, and then we'll come back and discuss it real quick.
Well, my understanding so far is everything when he left was trending in the right direction. We haven't had our hands on him yet, but we do know and communicating that he's been working, doing the things that he needs to, and we'll see him, hopefully soon. Not quite sure when we can reach out, but we will start April 18th, I believe, is the beginning of our OTAs.
Well, this is the first combine you've had.
Well,
and sorry for the background noise, but there was a bunch of different interviews happening at the same time, so you could hear kind of the other interviews in the background, but that's what we had to work with. And honestly, I don't take much away from that little clip. It really just seems like Ron Rivera doesn't really know that much about the injury since it happened, or since they were. And sorry for the background noise in the interview, but this is happening at the Combine, and the podiums were really, close to each other, and there was a lot of interviews happening at the same time, so that's why you have the background noise. But, it's what we're working with, and honestly, didn't take away that much from this clip. It seems like Ron Rivera doesn't really know that much about his injury status at the moment, or he doesn't really want to say, but basically he just said, at the time, once the season ended, it seemed like he was, in a good spot, trending in the right direction, but they haven't really seen him since then, and that, does make sense. I feel like, hopefully, it's all behind us, this whole Curtis Samuel saga, and he can just go out and ball out for us this year, but we're not going to know until we get that injury update, the first few weeks, or the first during OTAs, really, and then training camp, that's when we'll know for sure. Because if he's not back 100% in training camp, then I'm just going to have literally zero expectations for him that year. I'm just going to treat him as if he's not part of the team, and whatever he adds to the team is an added bonus. Because if he's not ready by then, he'll never be ready unless he has something done, like a surgery or something. But Curtis Samuel, when healthy, he can definitely be a weapon and an asset to this offense. You kind of look at his stats, missed some games in his rookie year, but after that, he was pretty healthy. 500 yards in 2018, 627 in 2019, 850 in 2020. And that's what I loved about the Curtis Samuel signing, is that this was an ascending player. This is, first of all, a young player. He's younger than Terry McLaurin, and he's an ascending player. Every single year of his NFL career, he has gotten better. Every year, the next year, he's even better and better and better. And that's what you love to see. Obviously, this year, he wasn't better, but, we understand why. He was out for basically the whole season. He played 40 snaps, which isn't even, a full game worth of snaps. And, in terms of rushing, he also is a threat. And, again, improved every single year. Went from 64 to 84 to 130 to 200. And I'm hoping Scott Turner is able to use him creatively in Washington. I really liked how Joe Brady used Curtis Samuel in 2020. We don't need to have him have 41 rushes for 200 yards, but I think having more rushes than he did in his first year, or first few years, where he had 4, 8, and then 19. And it seemed like Scott Turner, in the limited snaps Curtis Samuel played, he actually had a decent amount of rushes. He had 4 rushes, and considering how many snaps he played this year, that is a decent amount. I bet you his percentage of rushes is pretty high considering his snaps. So hopefully Scott Turner uses him that way, because he is definitely a weapon, and as a rusher as well. I think he was a running back in high school, definitely, and in college as well for a little bit. And as a receiver, he can be used in the slot and the outside. I think Scott Turner is going to be creative with him, play on the outside and in the slot as well. So I'm very, very excited to see what Curtis Samuel can add to this team. And I don't necessarily think he's going to be a guy that gets like 1,100, 1,200 yards, but I think reasonable expectations for him, and this is a big if, but if he plays for 14 or more games, I think he can be in that 750 to 900 range with like 5 touchdowns and 100 rushing yards. Like, I think that is those are reasonable expectations for him if he is healthy in this offense with Carson Wentz, who I think that those two will work well together. And he has potential, no doubt. I mean, 850 yards as a third option in Carolina. And, you know, he could even go higher than that. He could go over 1,000. I'm not saying he will, but he could. He can be a solid number 2 receiver. Yes, you could definitely have an upgrade in terms of your number 2 receiver. Like, would I mind if we drafted Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Drake London? No, I would not, because that would be a great trio, and you would have some added insurance, you know, just in case Curtis Samuel is injured again, or still hasn't recovered, or De'Ami Brown doesn't, you know, if he doesn't improve. So those are just some things to consider. And I thought this is a good point too. Yes, he was injured all this year, and it was unfortunate. It was bad that he was injured all year. But before that, really didn't have that many injury issues. In his rookie year, he did a little bit. But if you look at the other years, like played 13, 16, and 15 games, so it wasn't a huge issue in terms of the injuries. I think he'll be fine. We'll see, though. Only time will tell. But if he can be healthy this year, like this offense, when healthy, like we have weapons. Obviously, we know Terry McLaurin, but then you look at Logan Thomas, is a very, very solid tight end in this league. And if he's healthy, I think he's a top 10 guy. But again, that is a big if. We don't know if he's going to be healthy for the start of the season. J.D. McKissic, another great weapon. Hopefully he's all good, and that neck injury wasn't a big deal. We know Antonio Gibson is a monster and has the talent to be like a top 3 running back in the NFC, maybe a top 5 running back overall, but he's got to work on the injury issues and the fumbling issues as well and expand as a pass catching back. And then you got a good offensive line. And, I mean, just a solid, you know, of course, I'm missing Curtis Samuel. And if you add another receiver in the draft, like, you got some weapons there, and they just got to stay healthy. And that's a big, big if, because they do have some guys that have had some injury issues in the past. But if they can stay healthy, I have some, you know, decent expectations for this offense. Like, I think they can be a top half of the league offense, which we haven't had in a pretty long time. So that would be nice to have. And hopefully our defense can step up and be that defense we thought they could be this year. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think about Curtis Samuel, and will we ever see him on the field? Thanks for watching. Peace.